Hi guys, it's Dawn and it's time for our Sunday summary. Now I know you're looking like, where have you been? And yeah, it's been amazingly crazy. And I was talking to our production manager on how could I bring you up to speed on what's happened in HeartSong Church in a short version. We really couldn't find a short version. So I need you to hunker down, grab your Bibles, grab your pads, grab your pencils. You got an iPad, grab your iPad. It might be a little bit faster. I want to bring you up to speed on where we are in our First Peter series. We're still in First Peter. I'm going to try to recap the sermon that we're in right now because it was a two-part sermon. So last Sunday was part one. This Sunday was part two. So I'm going to try to recap that, but to kind of fast forward and bring you in what you missed. We talked about submission to authorities, great conversation. Talked about submission in our homes, wives submitting to their husbands. We talked about how the lack of submission hinders prayer. If you wonder why your prayers aren't getting anywhere, you want to take a listen to those past few sermons in which we talked about how prayer is hindered by this idea of relationship and working together. So we've done that. Now we're in this conversation called the Rudiments, which is today's sermon, the Rudiments for the Right Relationships with the Redeemed. How do we engage with fellow believers? We're even greater than that. How do we engage with the rest of the world? How, as Christians, should we behave in our relationships? So that's what I want to talk through today. Now, I'm going to warn you. I'm going to say some things that you're going to be like, who does that? Where do they do that? It's the Bible. And we're going to have to, by grace, by our need of Scripture. So grab your Bibles. 1 Peter chapter 3. I'm going to read the verses in which he's been getting his two-part sermon from, which is verses 8 through 12 of chapter 3. So let's listen. Finally, all of you be of one mind, having compassion for one another, love as brothers, be tender-hearted, be courteous, not returning evil for evil, or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, blessing, knowing that you were called to this, that you may inherit a blessing. Verse 10, for he who would love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. That's actually a cross-reference to Psalm 34. Let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayers. Predicated that you've done all the other stuff. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. Okay, so let's kind of hop right into it and see what we can do. All right, so at the beginning of this conversation on relationships, Pastor Washington began to walk through this level of C's. So I can make it a little bit easier. It is alliterated. Point one, concord. He said, be of one mind. So concord or consistency, a consensus. We need to be together in how we go about doing, how we're going to do that. So believers, when we walk together, if we say we love the Lord, there is a level of oneness, one-mindedness that we should have. What mind is that? Well, certainly it's not Dawn's mind. It's not Pastor Jesse's mind, but it is the mind of Christ. And so we should be of one mind. But then in point two, he goes on to talk about how do we be of one mind, and he walks through the logistics on that. Point two, he says compassion. How do we have compassion towards one another? Having compassion towards one another, looking out for one another. Are you compassionate towards others? Do you even care about other people? Well, that leads to point three. Not only should we have compassion, but we should have care and concern for each other. It should be pitiful, and not pity in the sense that I help you blow up balloons and have pity parties. If you know me, not happening. You can have the woe is me speech as much as you want, so I'm not going to help you blow up pity parties, but I am going to have compassion on you and care for you in the sense that I will encourage you in the Lord so that you might grow in grace. So we should have care and concern for one another. This is where it got interesting today, and that we should conquer retaliation. Whoa, what do you mean by that? Okay, so in the conversation of conquering retaliation, Pastor Washington walked us through how we should not take vengeance on our own. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and I will repay. And I know, I hear you screaming, Dawn, but you don't understand. People trifling, you don't know what they said to me, you don't know how they disrespected me. Of course, my husband walked through plenty of illustrations in which he had been disrespected. And the Bible thing to do, the right thing to do, is not to be retaliating, not to be vengeful, but to step back and allow God to do that. You remember the old church song, victory, victory shall be mine if I hold my peace. let the Lord fight my battle. Victory, victory shall be mine. So we have to conquer that desire to retaliate, to respond. If I've learned nothing else in growing up in God, is there is a blessed quietness. I don't have to respond to everything. Sometimes my lack of response says it all. So think about that. Think about that when you're doing social media. Because some of us like, I don't fight. No, you don't fight with your fist. But you might fight with your words. You might retaliate on social media outlets or other forms of retaliation. Consider what the Bible has to say about that. Conquer retaliation. The last one that I want to go over today is compensate blessing for cursing. What do you mean by that? So, compensate blessing for cursing, meaning that for every time somebody curses me, the Bible says I should bless them. Hold on. What? Yeah, I get it. None of what I've said is possible without the power of the Holy Spirit. We can do none of this without God. But with God, all things are possible. So everything that we talked about in walking in these Christian relationships, the foundation is God. The foundation is our salvation, our bowing our knee to God in Scripture. See, before he got to this conversation, we had conversations about submission to leadership, to authorities in our homes. We'd had a conversation about prayer. You can't walk these things out in your relationship without having those pieces in place first. Listen to the whole sermon. I cannot in any way capture what we've done for the last few weeks in a matter of minutes, but I've tried. Of course, we'd love to worship with you. Visit us online at www.heartsongcommunity.com. We are located at 4208 North Florida Avenue in Tampa, Florida. Until I see you again, God bless you guys. Love you. Grace and peace.